Welcome to Farm's Weekly Wednesday webinar series. We're so glad that you could join us today on this wonderfully snowy morning. As you know, we start our webinars promptly at 12 and like to finish a little before 1 so that if you have to get back to work, you can. These webinars are sponsored by a grant from the Otto Bremer Foundation and Farms, where we grow farmers. Today's webinar features Glenn Muskie, who has a really long job title and a cold, and so I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about what he does for NDSU, and he's going to talk about the need for networking and how important that is for your business. This session is recorded. We will honor questions. You can either type them in the chat box or raise your hand, and I will ask the question for you at an appropriate break in the action. Otherwise, we'll wait till the end of the webinar for questions. Everyone will be placed on mute as to not interrupt the speaker. And I think without further ado, we're going to give this change presenter a shot here and see if we can get it to work without having to email me the PowerPoint. And we're going to turn it on over to Glenn when he's ready to begin. He may begin at any time. It's working.
Okay.
I can see your slide. Yay!
Okay, I was just going to ask, can you see the slide? So we're good, huh?
Okay, go for it.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, good morning to everyone. This is Squeaky Glenn Muskie, and I will apologize in advance. I will also apologize if for some reason I cut out quickly. I'm going to try to hit the mute button then every time I have to cough here, which seems to be more than I want to. But anyway, Sue said I work for NDSU. My job, as you can see on the slide, it's the long title, Rural and Agribusiness Enterprise Development Specialist. Just think of me as a small business guy, and I really don't care what type of business you're in, because bottom line, all businesses operate the same. And so that's sort of one of the mantras I say. People will come to me and say, well, we have X business. It's like, y'all got to market. There's just common things. And one of those common things, and this is a topic I love to talk about, and that's this need to network. You're not going to get away from it. You shouldn't get away from it, because so much knowledge comes to us by knowing other people. If you haven't spent some time talking to Sue from Farms, that's a real resource that you're missing out on and stuff. And we have all of you who are in the audience today. You are resources for each other. And I would encourage you to always think about meeting those people and working with those people. And I'm going to give you some tips over the next few minutes here as we go about this and stuff. So let's move on. I love this quote. You don't have to know everything as long as you know the people who do. I am a horrible in terms of knowing where I file things. I don't have a clue. It made sense yesterday when I filed it, but today, no, there's nothing there. So one of the people I always network with are people in my organization who just have those great filing systems, so I can find what I need. They'll find it for me. If I can't, they know where it's at. So you never know what the information might be. But it's out there and somebody has it. So trying to move on here. So effective networking, it's a myth. Most of the time it's a myth, because we see it. If you ever watch people in a situation, you see it in their actions that they're really not believing too much in what they're doing. Most of the time they spend is spent just trying to do the card exchange. The person with the biggest pile wins, and that's really not why you're there. You're better off coming out with a session with 1 or 2 cards of people you manage to connect with, and people who are going to provide you something. then excuse me, then people who then you come out with a big pile and you don't know really who they are or what they do or what they need or what they want. That's not good networking and stuff. And so you need to think very strongly about what it is that you offer people. Okay, it's not a contest. Like I just pointed out, it's not the most trips to the snack bar. It's not the most handshakes. And it's certainly not this idea of the biggest pile of business cards wins. When you network, you have to think very hard about, what it is. Don't make it a contest. Think about why you're going into it, what you want from it, and also try to get a list before you even go to the session as to who might be there. And then with the wonderful online world we have, Google some of these people. Oh, here's somebody I'd like to meet. Here's somebody who's running a business like mine. Here's somebody who's in an area of the country I've never been to, but I'd like to go there. Why are you talking to these people? Why do you want to be in touch with them? So, like I said, have some, if we'll go there, network goals. You have three type of connections. You have those people who need me. You have those people I need. And then you have those people, these are really people you need, but who can help take you to the next step. So the first two are more at the immediate step. Today, my problem is this. Who can help me? But tomorrow, I want to grow. Who can help me? You want to learn. And these are just some of the things you want to learn. You want to know from people who have been there, done that. One of the greatest things you have is peer-to-peer learning. Greatest possibilities. This is why you network. Why do you try to cover ground that somebody else has already covered? Why do you ask somebody or get caught up into whatever the case may be? A common one I have is free money, or people who are, Sue and I were talking about grant writing. Hey, if you're writing a grant, and Sue, I don't know if Sue we were live or not when we talked about it, but she had a problem. How do I do this certain grant form? Well, don't fight your way through it. Ask. Lots of people out there have already done it. And then you want a goal of the future. What's going to come up? What's going to hit me next? So networking is defined as a process of linking people to each other, uh, assisting and supporting, helping them find the resources they need. We call it informal because there really is no formal process for this, in the sense it's not mapped. I mean, it's written about, but it's fully not mapped out. But how most people think of it is this widely held definition. I know it when I see it, but I can't define it, explain it, or understand why I can't make it work. Most of us are not naturally good networkers. Most of the people, even the good networkers I know, will admit they didn't start that way. They had to learn it. They had to work very hard at trying to figure out what it is they wanted, how they were going to get it, where they were going to get it, etc. So we seem to have skipped a bunch of slides here, Sue. I'm going to back up here some. I don't know what's going on here. We jumped from slide 3 to slide 5. Are you seeing that, Sue, or can you not respond right now?
I can see the networking goal, connections, those who need me, those who I need.
Yeah,
The one that's up
but
there.
we hopped from like slide 3 to slide 5 here.
Oh yeah, it says on the bottom it goes, so
Yeah,
your slide 4 is missing. How is that possible?
and then it goes to slide 10.
Oh no.
Oh, no. Just hold on a second, folks. Uh, let's see if I can fit. Okay. Can you still see my screen, Sue?
Yes. Do you want me to unscreen you?
No, no, just leave it this way. We might just show it this way
Okay.
because I know it works this way.
Okay, good.
Okay. So we skipped. So here are some of the topics that uh, we're going to talk about today: power collaboration, networking goals, networking defined, why and how, traditional online networking, etc. Think of all the knowledge that's out there, and you might want to think of it in terms of Google has all the knowledge in the world, right? How big? If you could put that down into a pile of cards, if any of you are old enough like I am to remember the old punch cards, how big would that pile of cards be? I mean, there's just a huge amount of knowledge. Well, I don't know all that. I can't know all that. I don't want to know all that. But somebody, and there is the site, if you want to go see, figure it out roughly how big he thinks Google's data amount is. And it might surprise you that his thought is, if you think of these punch cards again and put them in boxes, that it would be a stack that would cover New England, the whole area, about 5 kilometers deep. That's a lot of knowledge. You can't know it all. You don't want to know it all. So if you're thinking about getting into this idea of, well, I'm just going to learn it myself. We're a bunch of, I heard that from my relatives, the neighbors, quite often that we don't need any help. We're tough. Don't be tough. Admit it. Just and go with the punches and stuff. Um, so what networking looks like? This is you. If you can think of that square out there, that rectangle, that's all the other information out there that you don't know. You don't want to know, right? So here's another way to look at networking. But this is ineffective networking. Why? Because it's you connecting with everybody else. And we don't know if they're connecting with anybody else, nor are they talking amongst each other. And just today, and so that's why it's typed in there real quick. I did this earlier this morning. Uh, this is ineffective networking, and Seth Godin, who I don't know if you follow him as a blogger, talked about this idea of the connect versus the connect to experience. We think, and businesses often talk about connecting to our customers, or a business wants to connect to another business, or I want to connect to somebody. Well, the connecting to is just what we see here. It's just going back and forth. What we instead want to see is not connect to, but we want to connect with. I want to go back and forth, but I want these other people to connect with each other. And if you see the blues out here, out in that corner, they're not only connecting with each other or with you, but there's the power, and this is just an illustration. It's probably happening in all those nodes. There's the power of knowing what everybody knows. Yeah, I know blue is good. And I know blue is good because he or she really has a good network of everybody else. So if I want to capitalize on my network, these become the type of people that, as I said, before you go out to a networking event, you study who might be the blues, or the greens, or the purple, or the brown. What does each person bring? Now, red still sits out there by herself, himself, but there's still a reason why you may want to connect with red. They might have an important piece of the puzzle. They might be the county health officer who is crucial for some of us. So, but realize, as I wrote in there, that these take time. They're not going to happen overnight. A good network takes your life. It will take your entire life. And that's exactly what we want. So we already went through this one, and this is where I realized that we had skipped a bunch of stuff. And again, I apologize. I don't know what went on, but we're working through it. Another way to consider or how we hear it referenced is not just networking, but I mentioned connecting already, linking, rainmaking. If you're in some of the service firms, they call it rainmaking, schmoozing. You may, or the 6 degrees to Kevin Bacon. And if any of you have played that game, it's just the idea is that we can connect from any movie, I think it was any movie, to Kevin Bacon in 6 steps because he played in so many movies. And today, the argument is because we have so much greater knowledge because of this wonderful online world, it isn't 6 degrees anymore. It's probably 2 or 3. If any of you are Facebookers, a thing I am seeing with more regularity now is trying to help youth learn about the power of this thing called the internet. And so what do? We post something and say, post this to your friends because we want to show them how quickly things get around. It doesn't take long. So we've sort of discussed the why. Now we're going to discuss a little bit about the who and the how. And I love this experiment that was done. Remember, this was done in 2009 in DARPA, which is part of our Defense Administration. Simply wanted to find out if we located 10 red weather balloons in the United States, how long would it be before a group of individuals or a person could come to us and say, we know where they're all at and give you the locations? 2009. Yeah, we had a pretty strong internet, nothing like today, but pretty strong. And they estimated a week. Well, a group of students from MIT, as you see, took them 9 hours, less than 9 hours, with the power of linking, with the power of networking. You got a question, your business is struggling, or you're trying to get a business started. Wouldn't you like to have an answer or a bunch of feedback in 9 hours? Now, it has to be something that catches people's attention. But again, that's knowing the right places to network in. People are interested in various topics. If you get on the right boards or in the right networks, I'm more likely to be a part of those if I'm, of value. So you have to know when and what time I get on and where I get on. And so they were able to take advantage of this knowledge that they had, though, and stuff. And if you want to watch the YouTube, it's a cute little fun YouTube about a minute or two in length of actually, a little bit more about it. Doesn't say a lot more about it, but 9 hours. They found 10 randomly placed weather balloons here in the U.S. That's pretty powerful, pretty neat stuff. So who do you network with? Obviously, you network with like-minded people. That's fun because they think like you. But what about the non-like-minded people? You don't agree with them, but yet they bring something to the table. They show you the other side. And how about your competitors? Have you thought about networking with them? You do it every day, or at least in small towns you do, because the whole main street is sitting at the coffee shop. So you're networking with them. Professional associations is another networking partner. Referral partners. These might be somebody who has a complementary product or a service to yours. A referral partner could be they're just like you, but they operate in a different part of the country. Your business contact spheres. And don't forget about your social contacts. Just because we're talking, and I'm focused here on business, doesn't mean that your social networks don't have a lot of information they can bring. They are in business themselves. And often we think, well, but they're in a business. I have a product business. They're in a service business. Like I said, business is a business. They've had feet on the ground. They've contacted people. And they talk to other people who are not, if I'm product, they're service, but they talk to other product people. They travel. They see. One of the greatest ways people ask me, well, how do I get an idea for a job or for a business? Excuse me. I said, jump in the car, go drive to a town just like yours and see what you see. And where you got people coming out of the door there, you've got an opportunity. Now, can you make it work? Would it work in your town? Well, your network can tell you these things too because they travel, they experience. They don't always travel maybe in a car anymore, but we can do it online. Uh, so how do you do it? It's easy to talk about, yeah, you do all these things, but what are some of the steps you do with the how? Okay. Uh, have a positive attitude. Walk into this knowing I'm going to come out of today with something and set some objectives. It's the same thing we hear all the time. Attitude, objectives, do some planning. Be open, be sincere. Don't be anybody you're not. Be genuine. Don't make promises you can't keep. Know what you want to say. This is not a day you're selling things. This is a day you're listening. You're going to do more listening as you see than talking. You want to listen to what people are saying. You want to look for their verbal, nonverbal cues. Are they interested in you? Are they, uh, you know, tuned into what you're saying, or are they just sort of being kind and pleasant? Find those people who you see that spark of interest. Thank them, you know, and then offer help. This is not a one-way street. As you saw in those sets of arrows that I provided, it's definitely a two-way operation. And practice, practice, practice. This is something you have to do. And how do you practice? You practice by yourself, but you also practice every event you go to. When you get done with it, critique yourself. How'd you do? How many really good contacts did you make? What could I do differently? How would I do it differently? As I said, most of us are not natural networkers. I'm not. I'll be honest with you. You just learn. You learn how to work the room and stuff. More how? Start small. Don't go into a major meeting, trade show, and there's 500 people on the trade show floor. That's really tough. That's really tough to figure out, who do I talk to? How do I talk to them? But now some of that, you don't go into the 500 because you get the list of attendees and you scale it back. So even though there's 500 people in the room, maybe there's 2 or 3 names of people you actually want to see. Better yet, you find those 2 or 3 people and you say, it's really noisy in here, it's really busy. You want to meet for coffee tomorrow morning or have breakfast tomorrow morning? So take it down to a manageable size. A lot of us are just scared. Plain and simple, we're scared. There's nothing wrong with being a lurker. Drift into the edge of the conversation. Watch, see how people are doing it. Listen, learn the aspect of making good conversation, and then have your own strong profile ready to go. Your business card, your speech, your elevator speech, your online profile, etc. Have those things available to you. Find the key players, and don't be afraid to unfriend. In the world of Facebook, oh man, we just think that's the worst thing in the world to do. You don't have to be mean about this. A person may have come into your life and they may have something you think is going to help you. Doesn't mean you leave them, in a sense, truly out there by themselves. But you can only network efficiently and effectively with so many people. So there are going to be people in your life that you're going to work with for a time, and then they may drift away. Quite often, it's probably of a mutual agreement that you're no longer servicing each other as best, there's other people but you probably had a role in helping them find that next person on the chain. Likewise, hopefully they'll be thinking the same of you, that, oh, I've never heard from. And there's nothing wrong with picking up somebody. You don't truly unfriend them. You just don't talk as often. Learn the preferred way they want to connect. Some people are phone people. I'm an online person. So find out who these people are, what communities they're in, find the key players, and that's where, again, as I say, the online world is so great for us. And then add value. Don't be just a taker. It's probably the worst thing in the world you can be, is the taker who never gives, who never adds value. When I hand out business cards, I try to give people two. And I always say, they always look at me strangely, oh, you gave me two. And I say, take one and give it to somebody who may need this. Somebody you know who's working on a small business, or just somebody who's got some questions, or somebody who can offer something to me. I don't care what it is. So always be thinking of adding value. I'm hoping they take that to their next networking event. And they say, I just met a person. And you know how quick we can forget names? Well, if they've got your extra business card, they're not afraid to give it away. They're not afraid to at least go back to the office and say, I got somebody's card, I'll mail it to you. Or I'll scan it in, whatever you want to do with it and stuff. So add value in this whole process. That's what it's all about. So networking events. Largely it does happen. The initial meeting of people probably happens in an event world. A lot of your best networking, though, is going to occur outside of an event. This is where you meet them. And then later on, you're going to take it away from the event and talk otherwise and stuff. This is the person who once a month you have coffee with. That's where the action really takes place. The event is just the great opportunity to get to meet them. So don't arrive late to any meeting. The best opportunities happen in the first 30 minutes. If you want to learn that, just arrive 31 minutes into a meeting. And what's happened? People have formed up into their groups. People have pulled their chairs together. And it's tough. It's a lot tougher than when everybody's just sort of staring around the room wondering, what do I do here? Who do I talk to? What a great time, and I'm going to skip to that. Be the host. Be the person who's standing at the door saying, you look like you could use some help. Pretty innocuous question, pretty safe question. And they might say, no, I'm just looking for somebody. And you could say, what's their name? Maybe I've met them already. I've been talking to people. Say, come in. Well, and this is a great opportunity to help. Because they might say, well, I'm not really sure who I just want to talk to somebody about. You have to look appropriate. If you don't dress appropriate to the crowd, you're going to feel very uncomfortable. And that's going to come through in that nonverbal body language about your ability to effectively network. Manage your time. Man, you can meet somebody at one of these events and they are just the perfect person for you, and you could just talk for hours. Remember, you don't get too many of these chances. What you want to do is, once you've met that person and there's a connection there, that's where you have to make a point to say, okay, we need to talk more, but I have to meet some other people here. So plan a time. How are you gonna meet next? When? Maybe you set a limit of yourself, how many people you want to meet. So at some point you can turn it off. You can only be on for a certain long. And listen. When you're networking, remember 80% is listening. Give them your undivided attention. Again, that body language, be careful. It's about them. Work the room. And a great networker that I knew said, stand by the food. Where does everybody go in an event? The food. So if you want to connect with people, just be right at the head of the line. Don't be in the line, but be at the head of the line and constantly be asking people, do you need anything? Can I get you anything? You doing okay? Here's the food. No host events are wonderful. There's no host to take care of that. Take on the role. Be the responsible person. How we get into, as I said, the event is so crucial, but after the event, keep in contact. Take notes. When you get done, leave and go somewhere and write some quick notes about that person. You may want to do that several times during a meeting. I always try to tell people to leave some blank space on a business card so that the person has a chance. What a great place to write a note that, I met Sally today, or I met Sue today. She's got this farms program. I got to learn more about that. She talks about creating young farmers or new farmers in North Dakota. Oh, we need some in our area. What can she do for me? A little note or two will certainly jog your memory and getting that started. If you said you're going to do something, do it. Send note cards. Yeah, the computer's really easy, and I'm not really good at this, but a handwritten note is just more and more it becomes this incredible thing. And I'm sure someday I'm going to have to take that note off of there, that bullet point. But for right now, I'm hanging to it and stuff. And like I said, I can critique myself and say, should have done that. Really should have. But think about it anyway. Learn from your mistakes and then plan for the next event. When you're in that events, remember to have your tools, uh, business card, business card of others. That's why you give 2 or 3 or 4. If you're working a big room, there's no reason you can't hand out 4. As people say, you want to hand you 3 of them back, say, no, you're going to meet other people today. Take it, and all of a sudden, they've got a whole new opportunity when they're having a conversation with somebody, as this person is talking about making widgets. They don't care about making widgets, but they know you do. Hey, I met somebody, and here's their card, and they're right over there. Gives you another opportunity, gives you something to talk about, but it also puts you in the position of a knowledgeable person. And what a great place to be. Now they're also, let's call it what it is. They're in your debt to a little degree, but they may never pay back. But you never know. Your name badge. We don't remember names. Some people have the magic touch, but a lot of us struggle with that. But have a name badge so I can see it and know what your online profile is and everything. Because what am I going to do as soon as I leave the meeting? I'm going to check you out. And that's where your online profile better fit with what you told me at the meeting. It's work. Plain and simple, it's work. It's not sitting and it's not eating. Neither one of those are what you're at the meeting for and stuff. It is work. Now, most of this has been focused on the face-to-face. Today, face-to-face has really changed. We have this thing called the online world. And I've already given lots of pluses to the online world, how great it can be, but it's also a tremendous way to meet other people. The how now, though, is slightly different when we're meeting other people. Part of the how remains the same, these elements right here. I love, the lurking. In some ways, that's taken on a bad connotation online, but I do a lot of lurking. I'm just trying to find out about people. And as soon as I lurk a little bit, I can read I read their profile, I can read about us, but I can see if this is a person I want to connect to, and I can also begin to check out how to best connect to them. So lurk, nothing wrong with it. Most times you don't even know people are out there lurking. I'm so amazed some days when, sometimes I'll get something that from LinkedIn, if any of you are on LinkedIn, it'll tell me 4 people reviewed your profile. I'm going, who? And it will tell you sometimes. And it's like, who are these people? I don't know these people at all. Then 2, 3 days later, there might be a question. Yeah, there might be somebody trying to sell me something, but people are pretty good about not selling things that way. So lurking is certainly acceptable. Just like uh, in person, you're making connections. You're finding a niche. You're finding those people who can really help you out. And the focus of this whole thing turns from getting to giving. You're going to find yourself, as you really get into networking, that more and more you're thinking about giving. And online, we've really seen that happen more than we do offline. Offline still remains the traditional, more of a getting mentality. Online, we're seeing definitely, and some of the research bears it out, that it's more of a giving. How can I give? People are joining communities. There's just so many ways that we can go online and be a giver in this whole thing. Remember, though, that as I've said, you need to check other people out. Remember that they're checking you out too. Your reputation, whether you believe it or not, is already out there. I don't know about the rest of you who are online today, but I'm a TripAdvisor user. I've used Angie's List a few times. I've used some of the other social media networks to find various things. Uh, so think about it and check yours out. It surprises me some of the things that are said about a business, or more about a business in a sense, and I see no response from the company. It's like, do you know? Or I'll talk to business owners and talk about, do you know what's being said about you? So you need to know what your online reputation is, so that as the lurkers are out there, as the people checking you out, you need to know what your reputation is. We've always looked at people's reputations, even when we met them in an event. Well, the online world just makes that a whole lot easier and a whole lot bigger. It used to be if you were upset with somebody, you told maybe up to 20 people. Well, today, pure math says 20 is nothing. You've probably got 100 friends online, and they each have 100 friends. Start doing the mental math here. It doesn't take long. Why some of these things go viral. I mean, it can be really detrimental to you. But that's all part of you as a networker. So networking does equal success. It's been proven time and time again. It probably offers the greatest return on investment than any other tool in your toolbox. And we're talking both financially and in non-monetary terms. Uh, this is just a quote from Chris Garrett, works in business guru. Uh, but he's saying what he says is factual. Networking can provide you with a great return, with great knowledge and great ability to move your business to the next level, or to take it wherever you want it to go. Remember, though, I said it up front, say it again, it probably isn't going to show direct or immediate results. You may never know that a connection you made is going to turn out to be something just huge down the road. So, last comment of the day. Like I said, it never ends. Expand your network by one quality person a day forever. And with that, Sue, my voice is still barely there, but we'll take questions.
That was super awesome, Glenn, but I feel really bad for your throat. It sounded like it might have been painful at times. Oh.
It sounds worse than there really is no pain, but it just sounds awful, I'm sure, to people.
So, does anybody have questions right off the bat here for Glenn? I'm wondering, you mentioned that you work in any kind of small business. Now, if I was thinking about starting a small business on Main Street in Mandan based on some of my recent experiences with people's interest in learning how to um, knit and learn how to can and all that stuff that I do on the side. How would you recommend kind of like making a determination as to whether or not I should do a business plan? Should I start with talking to people or
Hit the nail on the head, Sue. Is in it, you've got that interest. You think there's an interest. Is there really anybody out there who will buy it? And don't ask your family and friends because they're all going to tell you yes.
right? They don't count.
They love you, but they're your worst enemy. Uh, we love them, they love you, and that's what gets you into trouble. I don't know how many people have come to me with the greatest salsa recipe or the greatest jelly recipe or jam recipe or you name the product, especially in the food area. Oh, that's because they love you. Of course, you got the best one, aren't your neighbor? But you have to get some hard questions, and I would start with joining the Mandan Chamber of Commerce
Okay.
or something like that, and get in talking to those people who have started up on downtown, Main Street Mandan. And what are people coming in and asking for a need? Do you see this as possible? And then to try to truly get to some of those clients. I mean, you got some great people over there. Uh, um, though, of course,
Ellen?
the Harvest,
Oh, the Brazilian
Bria.
artist people. Yeah.
Yeah, the Brazilian barbecue. Bria has started up over there. You've got some new business owners who would be great sources to talk about, need and stuff. But then you have to know if you really have a market for people out there, and that's tough. You do it, I'm going to give you credit, Sue, that you have some sense of that because you're doing it like I encourage a lot of people to do. You're trying it out. You sell at farmers markets. You sell it, I saw you at the United Tribes Farmers Market, or you have these special events. You sort of got to test the waterfront.
Yeah, it makes me a little anxious. I'm like, oh God, you have to at some point take a leap of faith, don't you?
Yep, at some point you take the leap of faith. You do all your research. Sorry, there's no guarantees in this world, and at some point you take the leap of faith, and you know what? The odds are against you. But you know what? And they are plain and simple. Let's not kid around that it's gonna win. But most people who, when they fail, we know that 80% of them just know what they do. They start all over again because
Yeah, and there's always
you got
government
it in your
jobs, right?
blood, Sue.
Oh, I know.
You're an entrepreneur.
So like burns in the back of my brain all the time about how I would just love to go back to having my own business again. So
Yeah, see, and that's what part of when we talk about success in a business. I always tell people they have to define it themselves. Now, obviously, there is a level of monetary success you need because you got to pay the lights and you got to, hopefully you got to pay yourself too.
right.
Otherwise, it's a hobby. But I think I know you understand that. But we work with other people to get to that level. But how much money do you need? That's the question. Just being your own boss is so life
Rewarding.
fulfilling to people. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
it
there's
doesn't
all
make
that
they
whole
don't have to be a Bill Gates.
right, and there is that holistic management sort of. I get asked this question a lot. It's like, well, you can't make a living on 5 acres being a farmer, and I'm like, how do you define making a living? I would gladly give up $10,000 a year if I could just go outside and play with my animals, sell the products off my farm, and come in dead tired at the end of every day, but just happy to be out in the fresh air and working with the stuff I love. So,
That's
it,
right.
yeah,
And making a living is you are so right. What is making a living? That's part of it. That non-financial side of it. But even on the financial side, making a living. Well, do you need you know 5 cars? Maybe 4 will do, or whatever the case may be.
or one that's been paid for almost 2 months now. Yay! Uh,
Well, it's obviously time, Sue, to get another car.
no, 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 no. I'm
Well,
so
if you talk to corporate America, and that's shame on me, I shouldn't say such a thing. But
I know, but isn't that the way they do it? I mean, and I get emails from the place I bought the car from, and they're like, "Boy, we could really use some pre-owned cars. Don't you want to come trade it in?" I'm like, "Yeah, ain't gonna work on me, buddy." Oh gosh. Okay, friends out there,
In in
anybody
my
else?
in my I'll leave you with one little story. I had a vehicle that in my previous job they celebrated with me its 21st birthday. It and I were together for 21 years, so it could officially drink at that point in time. So,
Oh my God, that's funny. Well, and the price of gas was down a little bit, so drink up.
uh,
All right. Are there any questions from the rest of you out there? Anything you'd like to comment on or?
I've bored them all, Sue. So,
No, Glenn, it was awesome. It was full of really, really good information. Really, I
well,
enjoyed it.
I
You know, I do this for a
encourage
living, and
everybody
yet
to
I
try
got
it.
something out of it. So,
Yeah. So
all
it's
right.
practice, practice, practice. And thanks for the opportunity, Sue, to be a part of this. And thanks for what you do for trying to build farmers here in North Dakota.
Super. Well, we'll keep moving forward then, and we'll see everybody next week. I can't remember. Let me double check real quick what we're doing here for a webinar. Is going to be backyard hens with Annie Carlson. Ooh, I can't wait for that. I've wanted to get chickens for quite a while now. So,
We expect some, Sue.
all right, stay warm,
Okay.
everyone.
Take care.
Thank you, Glenn.